My name is Jake Martinez, and I'm 32 years old. This is the story of how I fell in love with the boss's daughter and nearly lost everything because of it. I've worked on the Red Mesa Ranch in West Texas for 8 years now. It's hard work, fixing fences, herding cattle, repairing equipment under the brutal sun. But I loved it. The land, the animals, the simplicity. And if I'm being honest, I loved her too. Sarah Henderson, the ranch owner's daughter. Sarah was 26, smart as a whip, and beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with makeup or fancy clothes. She wore jeans and boots like the rest of us, pulled her dark hair back in a ponytail, and could ride a horse better than most men I knew. She helped manage the ranch alongside her father, Mr. Henderson, a stern man who'd built his empire from nothing. I knew my place. I was just a ranch hand, earning decent wages, but nothing compared to what the Hendersons had. Sarah was destined for someone better. A businessman, maybe another rancher with land of his own. Not a hired hand who lived in a small cabin at the edge of the property. But I couldn't help how I felt. Every time she smiled at me, thanked me for my work, or sat beside me during lunch breaks, my heart raced. We talked about everything: books, dreams, the future. She told me she wanted to expand the ranch, introduce sustainable practices, maybe even start a program for troubled youth. I listened, encouraged her, believed in her, and somewhere along the way I fell completely, hopelessly in love. But I never said anything. How could I? Mr. Henderson would fire me on the spot if he knew, so I kept it secret, locked away in my heart where it belonged. It was early spring when things began to change. Sarah and I had been working together more often. Her father had assigned us to check the northern pastures, a 2-day job that required camping overnight. We rode out on horseback, the Texas sky endless above us, the air fresh with the scent of wildflowers. We worked side by side, mending fences, checking water troughs, counting cattle. When evening came, we set up camp near a creek. Sarah built the fire while I prepared dinner, simple beans and cornbread. We sat together watching the flames dance, the stars beginning to appear overhead. "Jake," Sarah said softly, "can I ask you something?" I nodded, my throat suddenly dry. "Do you ever think about leaving? Finding something different?" I considered the question carefully. "Sometimes, but I like it here. The work feels honest, and the people—" I trailed off, not trusting myself to finish. She smiled, a sad kind of smile. "I know what you mean. This place gets in your blood." We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Sarah spoke again. "My father wants me to marry Daniel Crane. You know him?" I did. Daniel owned the neighboring ranch, was wealthy and well-connected. A perfect match, at least on paper. "What do you want?" I asked quietly. Sarah stared into the fire. "I want to choose my own path, but it's complicated." She looked at me then, really looked at me, and something passed between us. A moment of understanding, of possibility, but I was too afraid to act on it. That night, lying in my sleeping bag under the stars, I made a decision. I would write her a letter, tell her how I felt, give her the choice to decide what happened next. It was risky, maybe even foolish, but keeping silent was becoming impossible. I would write the letter, give it to her, and let fate decide the rest. The next morning, we rode back to the ranch in thoughtful silence. I couldn't stop thinking about what I wanted to say in the letter. How do you tell someone you love them when you know it could ruin everything? I spent the next 3 days writing and rewriting, crossing out words, starting over. Finally, I had something that felt true. The letter was simple. I told Sarah how much I admired her strength, her intelligence, her kindness. I confessed that I'd fallen in love with her, knowing it was impossible, knowing I had no right. I told her I didn't expect anything from her, but I couldn't keep pretending I didn't feel this way. I sealed it in an envelope, my hands shaking. The plan was to give it to her directly, in private. But the next day, Sarah was called away to Houston for a business meeting. She'd be gone for a week. I couldn't wait that long. The letter felt like a weight I had to release, so I made a terrible decision. I slipped into the main house when I knew Mr. Henderson was out in the fields. I'd been in Sarah's room once before, helping to move furniture. I placed the letter on her desk, tucked under a book so it wouldn't blow away. Then I left quickly, my heart pounding. I went back to work, trying to act normal, but inside, I was a mess. What had I done? What if someone else found it? What if Sarah was angry? What if she told her father? The questions tormented me, but there was no taking it back now. 3 days passed. Sarah returned from Houston on a Thursday evening. I saw her truck pull up to the main house, watched her carry bags inside. I wanted to talk to her, to see her reaction, but I forced myself to wait. She would find the letter when she unpacked. She would read it, and then I would know. Friday morning, I was repairing a water pump near the barn when Mr. Henderson's truck pulled up fast, dust flying. He got out, his face dark with fury. My stomach dropped. I knew immediately. He'd found the letter. "Martinez!" he shouted. "My office! Now!" I followed him into the ranch office, a small building near the main house. He slammed the door behind us. On his desk was my letter, the envelope torn open. Mr. Henderson's hands were shaking with rage. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, jabbing a finger at the letter. "You think you can write love letters to my daughter? You think you have any right?" I stood there, unable to speak. How had he found it? Had Sarah shown it to him? Or had he discovered it himself? "Mr. Henderson, I can explain." "Explain what? That you've been sniffing around my daughter behind my back? That you've been taking advantage of her kindness?" His voice was getting louder. "I trusted you, Jake. I gave you a job, a place to live, and this is how you repay me? I never took advantage of her," I said, finding my voice. "I have too much respect for Sarah to do that, but I won't lie about how I feel." "How you feel?" He laughed bitterly. "You're a ranch hand. She's going to marry a man with land, with prospects, not some hired help who lives in a shack." His words stung, but I held my ground. "I know I'm not what you want for her, but Sarah deserves to make her own choices." Mr. Henderson's face went red. "You're fired. Pack your things and get off my property by sunset. If I ever see you near Sarah again, I'll make sure you never work another ranch in Texas. Understand?" I nodded slowly, my world collapsing around me. "Yes, sir. I understand." I walked back to my cabin in a daze. 8 years. 8 years of hard work, of loyalty, of building a life here, gone in an instant. I started packing my few belongings, clothes, books, my grandfather's old guitar. It didn't take long. I'd never accumulated much. As I worked, I heard footsteps outside. The door burst open and Sarah stood there, breathless, her eyes red from crying. "Jake, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She rushed to me, and I held her for a moment before stepping back. "You have nothing to apologize for," I said quietly. "I knew the risk. My father went through my room. He found the letter before I did. He read it, Jake. I never even got to read it myself." Her voice broke. "What did it say?" I smiled sadly. "It said I love you, that you're the most remarkable person I've ever met, that I know I'm not good enough for you, but I couldn't keep it secret anymore." Tears streamed down her face. "You are good enough. You're more than good enough." "Jake, don't," I interrupted gently. "Don't say something you can't take back. Your father's right about one thing. We're from different worlds." "I don't care about that," Sarah said fiercely. "I care about you. I've cared about you for a long time, but I was too afraid to say anything." My heart soared and broke at the same time. "Sarah, come with me," she said suddenly. "Leave the ranch. We'll go somewhere else. Start over." I wanted to say yes more than anything, but I couldn't let her throw away her life for me. "Your father will cut you off. This ranch is your legacy. You love this place." "I love you more," she whispered. We stood there, the truth finally spoken, both knowing the impossible situation we were in. I took her hands in mine. "Listen to me," I said. "If we run away now, you'll always wonder what you gave up. You'll resent me eventually, even if you don't mean to. I can't live with that." Sarah shook her head. "I won't resent you. I promise." "You say that now, but this ranch is in your blood. Your dreams, your plans. They're all connected to this place. I won't let you sacrifice that." "So what are we supposed to do?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Just give up?" I pulled her close, resting my forehead against hers. "We don't give up. We wait. You stay here, work on the ranch, prove to your father that you're capable of making your own decisions. I'll find work somewhere else, save money, build something of my own. And when the time is right, when you've established yourself, we'll find our way back to each other." "What if he never accepts you? What if he forbids me from seeing you?" "Then you'll have to decide what matters more. But that decision should be yours to make when you're ready, not because I forced your hand." Sarah cried against my chest. "I don't want you to go. I don't want to go either. But it's the right thing to do." We held each other for a long time, knowing it might be the last time. Finally, Sarah pulled away and looked at me with determined eyes. "Promise me something," she said. "Promise that wherever you go, you'll stay in touch. Write to me. Let me know you're okay." "I promise," I said. "And you promise me you'll follow your dreams. Make this ranch everything you want it to be." "I will," she whispered, "for both of us." As the sun began to set, I loaded my truck with my belongings. Sarah stood on the porch of my cabin, watching. I wanted to memorize everything about this moment. The golden light on her face, the Texas wind in her hair, the way she stood strong even while crying. I drove away from Red Mesa Ranch with tears in my eyes, my heart breaking with every mile. The first few weeks were the hardest. I found work on a smaller ranch 300 miles away near the New Mexico border. The pay was less, the work harder, but it kept me busy. That was what I needed. Exhaustion so complete that I couldn't think. But at night, alone in another small cabin, I thought of Sarah constantly. I kept my promise and wrote to her. Letters became our lifeline. She wrote about the ranch, about implementing her sustainable practices, about standing up to her father. I wrote about my work, about the landscape, about how much I missed her. Months passed, then a year. Sarah's letters told me she was growing stronger, more confident. She'd taken over more responsibilities, was making real changes. Her father grudgingly respected her business sense, even if he still disapproved of me. I was proud of her, even from a distance. I saved every penny I could, worked double shifts, took on extra jobs. I had a plan, save enough to buy a small piece of land, start my own operation. It would take years, but I was willing to wait. For Sarah, I would wait forever. One day, 18 months after I'd left Red Mesa, I received a letter different from the others. Sarah's handwriting was rushed, urgent. "Jake, come home. Please, I need you. My father had a heart attack. He's recovering, but it changed everything. He's been asking for you. I don't understand it completely, but he wants to see you. Please come." I read the letter 3 times, unable to believe it. Mr. Henderson wanted to see me? After everything? I talked to my boss, explained the situation. He was understanding, gave me 2 weeks off. I drove through the night, barely stopping, my mind racing with possibilities and fears. I arrived at Red Mesa Ranch at dawn. The familiar landscape brought a flood of memories, both painful and beautiful. I parked my truck and walked to the main house, my legs shaking. Sarah opened the door before I could knock. She looked different, more mature, more confident, but with the same warm eyes I remembered. "Jake," she breathed, and then she was in my arms. We held each other for a long moment, and it felt like coming home. "How is he?" I asked. "Better. The doctors say he'll make a full recovery, but it was close. Jake, he's been different since the attack, quieter, reflective. He asked about you last week, asked if I was still in contact with you." "What did you tell him?" "The truth, that we've been writing to each other, that I never stopped caring about you." I expected him to be angry, but he just nodded and said he wanted to see you. Sarah led me inside. Mr. Henderson was in the living room, sitting in his favorite chair. He looked thinner, older, but his eyes were still sharp. "Jake," he said, his voice weaker than I remembered. "Mr. Henderson, I'm glad to see you're recovering." He gestured to a chair. "Sit. We need to talk." I sat, feeling like I was back in his office being fired, but his expression was different this time. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he began. "When you're lying in a hospital bed thinking you might die, you reconsider things. Priorities change." He looked at Sarah, then back at me. "I was wrong about you, Jake. Not about everything. You were still out of line writing that letter behind my back. But I was wrong about your character. Sarah's told me what you've been doing. Working hard, saving money, trying to build something. That takes integrity." I didn't know what to say. Mr. Henderson continued. "More importantly, I was wrong to think I could choose my daughter's life for her. She's proven herself over this past year. The ranch is stronger because of her. She deserves to make her own decisions." Sarah moved closer to her father, placing a hand on his shoulder. Mr. Henderson looked up at her with obvious love and pride. "What I'm trying to say is this. If you two want to be together, I won't stand in the way anymore. I can't promise I'll be thrilled about it right away, but I won't fight it." I stared at him, unable to process what I was hearing. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Daddy, are you serious?" "I'm serious, but I have conditions." Of course he did. "Jake, I want you back on the ranch. Not as a regular hand, as a partner. Sarah's been running things, but she needs someone she trusts beside her. Someone who knows the land, the work, the cattle. I think that's you." My heart raced. "Mr. Henderson, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. Take a few days. Talk to Sarah. Figure out if this is what you both want." He stood up slowly, and I stood with him. He extended his hand, and I shook it. Later, Sarah and I walked to the northern pasture where we'd camped that night long ago. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. "Can you believe it?" Sarah said. "I never thought he'd change his mind." "Your brush with losing him probably helped," I said. "Made him realize what really matters. What do you think? About his offer?" I turned to face her. "What do you think? This is your ranch, your future. I don't want to complicate that." Sarah smiled. "You don't complicate it. You complete it. Jake, I've spent 18 months running this place, and every day I wished you were here beside me, not just as someone I love, but as a true partner. You understand this land, this work, in a way that Daniel Crane never could. You didn't marry him then. I turned him down 6 months ago." My father was furious at first, but then the heart attack happened, and everything changed. She took my hands. "So what do you say, Jake Martinez? Will you come home? Will you build this ranch with me? Will you be my partner in everything?" I pulled her close, breathing in the familiar scent of her hair. "Yes, to all of it. Yes." We kissed then, finally. After all the waiting and longing and separation, it felt like the beginning of something real, something lasting. We talked for hours, making plans, dreaming together. Sarah wanted to expand the sustainable practices, maybe start that youth program she'd mentioned. I wanted to improve the breeding program, introduce new technology for water management. We decided I'd start back on the ranch in 2 weeks. Time to tie up things at my current job and move my belongings back. But this time, I wouldn't be living in the small cabin at the edge of the property. Mr. Henderson offered me the foreman's house, a decent-sized place near the main house. It was a symbol of my new role, my new status. The next few months were a whirlwind. I settled back into life on Red Mesa Ranch, but everything was different now. I worked alongside Sarah as an equal, not an employee. We made decisions together, planned the future together. Mr. Henderson watched us work, and I could see his respect growing. One evening, 6 months after my return, Sarah and I were sitting on the porch of the foreman's house, watching the sunset. "I have something for you," she said, pulling out a worn envelope. It was my original letter, the one her father had found. "He gave it back to me after you returned, said I should be the one to read it." I watched as she opened it and read for the first time the words I'd written so long ago. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "You wrote that you didn't expect anything from me, that you just needed me to know the truth." "I meant it," I said, "but I'm grateful every day that the truth brought us here." Sarah folded the letter carefully. "I'm keeping this forever, as a reminder of how brave you were, how honest. Not everyone would risk everything for love." A year after my return, I asked Sarah to marry me. It wasn't a fancy proposal. I did it at sunset on the northern pasture with wildflowers and open sky as our witness. She said yes before I even finished the question. Mr. Henderson gave us his blessing, though his eyes got a bit misty when he did. We were married in a small ceremony at the ranch, surrounded by friends, family, and ranch hands who'd become like family. My parents came from California, proud to see their son marrying the woman he loved. The ceremony was simple, but perfect. We exchanged vows under an arch decorated with Texas wildflowers, promising to be partners in all things. Mr. Henderson made a speech at the reception. I'll admit, when I first found out about Jake and Sarah, I reacted poorly. I thought I knew what was best for my daughter, but she taught me that love isn't about what makes sense on paper. It's about finding someone who sees you, respects you, and stands beside you through everything. Jake is that person for Sarah, and I'm grateful to have him as part of this family. I shook his hand, both of us understanding how far we'd come. Sarah and I honeymooned in Montana, exploring ranch country and getting ideas for our own operation. When we returned, we threw ourselves into work with renewed energy. The ranch flourished under our joint leadership. We introduced rotational grazing, improved soil health, and started the youth program Sarah had always dreamed of. Troubled kids from nearby cities came to spend summers learning ranch work, responsibility, and finding purpose. It was one of our proudest achievements. Mr. Henderson gradually stepped back, letting Sarah and me take full control. He spent more time with grandchildren. Sarah and I welcomed our first baby, a daughter we named Rose, 2 years after our wedding. Watching Mr. Henderson hold his granddaughter, I saw a gentleness I'd never witnessed before. "You know," he said to me one day, Rose sleeping in his arms, "I was wrong about a lot of things. But mostly I was wrong to think that wealth or land made a man worthy. You've proven that character matters more than anything else. This ranch is in good hands with you and Sarah." "Thank you, sir. That means a lot," he smiled. "You can call me Dad now, Jake. We're family." Those words meant more than any title or property ever could. We were family, forged not by blood alone, but by respect, forgiveness, and love. Now, 5 years later, I stand on the same northern pasture where I once camped with Sarah, where I proposed, where our story truly began. The ranch has grown, our family has grown, and our love has deepened in ways I never imagined possible. Sarah walks toward me, our daughter on her hip, the sunset creating a golden glow around them. "What are you thinking about?" Sarah asks, settling beside me. "How lucky I am, how one letter almost ruined everything, but instead, it gave us everything." She leans against me. "I'm glad you were brave enough to write it. Even if the path was difficult, it led us here." Rose reaches for my hand, and I take her tiny fingers in mine. This is my legacy now. Not just the land or the cattle, but this family, this love, this life we've built together. I think about the scared ranch hand who wrote that letter, risking everything for a chance at love. I'm proud of him. He deserved this happiness. "Jake," Sarah says. "Yeah, I love you. I love you too. Always have, always will." The sun sets over Red Mesa Ranch, and we head home together, a family united by love that refused to stay secret, by courage that overcame fear, and by a second chance that became a lifetime.